Good afternoon, Metstrade. My name is Panelists and I'm your Master of Ceremony. Welcome to the Leadership Panel, Women in the Industry, Impact and Empowerment. This afternoon, I'm joined by three distinguished female leaders, and they are all joining in online. Welcome, ladies. First, Tara Norton, who joined Navico as Chief Sustainability Officer in February 2021. And Tara has more than 15 years of experience in sustainability leadership roles in the US and in Europe. Furthermore, it's my pleasure to present to you Malin Schwartz. Malin is the Senior Vice President Brand Communication and Marketing at Volvo Penta, and she has spent more than 22 years in various roles at Volvo. But last but not least, we are joined by Michelle Goldsmith. Michelle is a publisher of Sounding Straight Only and Sounding Straight and consumer multimedia marine brands. And she has more than 30 years of experience in manufacturing, sales and marketing in the marine industry. And for you as an audience, we offer you, of course, the opportunity to interact with us. If you have any questions, please let us know and you can send them through to the chat at Metstrade Connect. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Nice to see you
so much.
Nice to see all three of you. I would actually want to suggest to dive in, literally, as we're talking about the marine leisure industry. Tara, you have an interesting background from the Peace Corps to work in trade, energy and transportation. Could you tell us about what drew you to the Chief Sustainability Officer position with Navico in the marine space?
Certainly. First of all, thank you so much for having me. It's wonderful to be here and to be here with these distinguished panelists. Yes, I was, when Navico was looking for a Chief Sustainability Officer and came knocking on my door, it was kind of a dream come true in terms of a role. As you said, I've worked in sustainability for a long time across many industries, but some of my favorite industries have been working in the electronics industry as well as in transport. So I've worked in different sort of parts of the transport sector. And to bring those two things together was just such an exciting opportunity. And the CEO of Navico is very forward thinking on sustainability. And this industry has so much opportunity in terms of the things that we can achieve in terms of positive social, and especially environmental impact. So I'm very excited to have taken the role and to be a part of the industry and of Navico. And now Brunswick, I should be clear also.
Yeah, well, actually, what we have heard also from yesterday on, Tara, is that sustainability is really a big topic that's moving on and being pushed much more in the marine leisure industry than before. Is that something that you also feel right now, that it's popping up much more?
Absolutely, and it's definitely something that I think Malin can talk to from Volvo Penta as well. Well, certainly all of us, but we were talking about this earlier, actually, that this industry has been doing so much. There's a real connection, obviously, to the oceans and waterways. Our customers, our employees, everyone that works in this industry really feels it. So for us, sustainability and the connection to the environment is really real. And so taking it from that level to, what does it mean to embed sustainability to meet some of these new requirements like ESG reporting and the requirements from the financial institutions that are coming out now. It's just a very exciting time for us to take what we've always known and really drive forward from a sustainability perspective.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're saying that right. I mean, to drive forward from a sustainability perspective, because things are really starting to be driven from that point of view. Malin, your journey has been very different. You worked in a wide variety of roles at Volvo. But what do you think defines your role as a leader today? Where's your focus?
So I would also like to start by saying thank you so much. It's an honor to be here with these brilliant ladies and yourself. I heard that we are the only ones that are a full panel that is digital. That is a first, and that is fun also, putting maybe a stake in the ground when it comes to that. No, but going back to your question, I think that the core is really to be grounded in the business. To understand the customers, the industry landscape, competitors, the offers, the value you bring, and of course the people you work with. And since the business is changing, you just talked about sustainability, and people are also changing. So I think therefore you need to be very flexible, and you need to be agile, and you also need to be very visionary in your thoughts. But I would also like to argue that this is not a one-man show. You need to have a team, and the team is everything. And in the team, you need to stimulate this with the openness and transparency, and also the ability to see the picture. Where are we going? And foremost, I would actually say that the curiosity to always learn new things and have this as a fast development. And that is what we are working a lot with, is dare to try, dare to fail, and then learn to be even faster the next time. So I think that is an important topic as a leader. For me, it is, at least.
Yeah, actually you're describing the industry, but describing and doing so, I hear the talents and the values that you should actually possess to be a leader where you are leading. Is that right? So you have to be agile, flexible, and also have the curiosity, of course. Yeah.
You need to understand the business, where you are, where you come from, but also you need to be curious about where this industry is going. And I will always want to stimulate my team to have that thoughts, What we have right now will most likely not be what we will have in the future. And of course, then, as a leader in this, as I said, it's not a one-man show. You need to sort of create trust. You need to dare to delegate and then dare to support in this journey.
Yeah.
That is very important.
Can I dive in a little bit more with you on that, Malin? Because what we are hearing here a lot from the people who have been in this industry for a long time is that it's quite a conservative industry. Do you feel that as a leader, you can be, of course, curious and flexible and agile, but is it also accepted that you have this role of leadership as a female in this industry, or is that not at all a topic?
I tend to not think about it as being a fee. I think for every industry, no matter what you are, especially in the very exciting time that we're in right now, you should be more afraid of sort of standing still in the status quo, rather than daring to try new things. And with that, maybe I think the different perspectives, the female perspective, the male perspective, is important to embrace. Then how do you do that? That is something you need to work on every day, and then you need to work as the leadership team, maybe not only as a leader. But I think also that actually, if you are that leader and you create that in your team, you can serve as a benchmark for the rest of the company when you start to see results out there.
Yeah, it's a journey, definitely. I hear it's a journey. Yes, and Michelle, how do you think the industry is changing in terms of female leadership?
I think there's more opportunity right now. There was a time in this industry, I've been in the industry for a long time, there was a time where being a female was an impediment, and it was something to overcome, where the better you were at understanding your company, your brand, and your products, the more accepted you were, the more integrity you had, the more the customers trusted you. I think that the opportunities for women to come in and then build that trust are more diverse now. I think that it's a much more transparent time where diversity in general is more accepted and more desired within companies. I mean, I can remember where you could count on one hand the women in leadership roles within the industry, and I look at Malin's company that has a female CEO. I look at what's going on within Brunswick Corporation that Tara is a part of, where 50% of one of the workforces is female, and they've got 2 division presidents that are female. So in terms of opportunities, they're really there, and that feeling of it being an impediment to you that's not what it is today. Yeah. You still have to do the best you can and really prove your worth to a company, but the opportunity is there.
Yeah, so the opportunity is there, but ladies, if we listen to Michelle, she's working in the US. Malin, you work in Sweden. Do you really feel these changes that Michelle is just describing are overall changes in all the companies, or is it just maybe in your company at Volvo Penta?
No, I think it's in all companies, to be fair. But then I'm a bit like this. Is it actually the female leadership that is changing, or is it the fact that the industry is, or all the industries are more demanding on a more diversified sort of supply, and that is not only from a product perspective, but also how we talk and how we walk and how we do stuff. So I think one is giving the other sort of, and I do agree with Michelle that the opportunity is sort of here and now, and the more diverse we see the companies becoming, the better is the chance for us as females, but also for other minorities in the industry actually.
Yeah, and a mixed workforce, of course, is a lot of fun, but it's also better in results. That's already been researched all over the world, and to have a mixed workforce is actually for the best. Tara, what about you? What would you like to add?
Yeah, I think I agree with what Malin and Michelle have said. I think it's worth adding the global context to this. The World Economic Forum came out with a report on gender gap. And according to them, it's going to take 136 years to achieve women's equality around the world. And they are clear on the geographical differences. So obviously there are differences around the world. And one of the things they looked at was top leadership. And if I'm getting my stats right, I think in the US, 47% of top leadership roles now are going to women. I didn't have the stats for Spain, where my new home. But I did see in Italy, it's only 27%. And so it really depends on the country and the context and also the industry that you're in. So, you know, I agree. I tend to not want to see gender in some ways and not want to think too much about it. But when you pay attention to the things like the pay gap and things like the global reality in terms of where we are with equality between women and men and women in leadership, you do have to, you know, acknowledge that context, I think.
Yes, I agree with you too here, if I can give some personal comment in this forum as well. I mean, of course, you have to acknowledge it by the end. I also do not tend to think of it, but by the end, it's something that you should also know that exists, because then you can deal with it in a realistic way, right? So I just hope that the amount of years that you're mentioning from the research forum, 136 years you said, Tara? You said?
136, yes, the World Economic Forum. I think it's called the Gender Equality Report. I may be getting that name wrong, but it just came out recently, actually.
Well, 136 years, ladies, if I may just say, what we have seen going on during the Corona COVID-19 time is that a transformation in business value has speeded up of what usually is done in 80 years into 2 years. So I think there's opportunity there too. Malin, I see you would like to respond, please.
Oh, but I actually think Tara is onto something. This is not something that will come out of itself. It's a hard work, and you need to be persistent in this. And you as a company, and there I can say that Volvo Penta has been working, and Volvo as well. Really, like just 10 years ago, we had education for male leaders on how to make sure that you have a more female you know, employees coming into the company. And now we work across the whole journey, you know.
Yeah,
how do we look upon the recruitment? How do we look upon the consultants? The workshops, just making sure that people, it's not only about female, male, it's also about different perspective. But I think one thing that is important here as well is the inclusiveness. Yes. It's not only about bringing people on board. You also need to work on making sure that these different perspectives are really heard, because that is actually what brings innovation, to get the second opinion and different perspective of things.
Yeah, definitely. So to what extent do you think that female leadership brings a different perspective to the companies and the industry, Tara?
This I think it's more of I mean, Malin's really hit on it. It's more about diversity. This is where I struggle to make gender stereotypes about women leadership versus male leadership. I think what it is we want to be able to come to work as our whole selves. And in some ways, I think Corona has set us back in some ways, but it's also helped in terms of, you know, where you know, traditionally women, and still today statistically, women do a lot more of the child care. And that wasn't as visible to people. And now everybody sees parents. It's not just the mothers, but it's also the fathers. So being able to acknowledge these parts of yourself, and there's also the statistics about women having this second shift, right? Women going home and still being caretakers, again, across industries. And so, and that varies again geographically and where you are hierarchically. But I do think it's just about being able to, use all of the tools that were given to us. So being empathetic, as well as being competitive, knowing how to speak directly, as well as knowing how to listen. It's really having that balanced sense of leadership of what it means to be a human, and without worrying too much about, which of those attributes are female or male attributes.
Yeah. What about you, Michelle? Yeah, I see you're saying yes, but what else is there?
As I speak to women within the industry and outside of the industry, none of us want to be something that's a checkbox that they're saying, okay, I need to have 3 women on this, I need to have diversity on this. No one wants to be that checkbox. You want to be able to earn your spot, and that it's actually the talents and the expertise that you have that put you in that room, and the opportunity is there for you to succeed. You don't want it to be, as they call it, a glass cliff.
Of course. Yeah.
So that's what I would add to the conversation.
But would you say that there's a different way of your look, what you can add to a company being female, or does it really not matter if you're male or female? I do tend to see that female leadership gives certain extras from time to time. And male leadership also gives certain assets from time to time. So for both, what is your own experience, Michelle?
I think it's a combination. As Mullen said, it's understanding both perspectives. And if you can get all of those perspectives into a room, what it does is it leads to more innovation.
Yeah.
And it leads to better solutions to bring companies forward and perhaps change the direction that you were going in.
Yeah, exactly.
If you've only got one perspective, rather than having multiple perspectives, the direction that a company goes in is going to change.
Yeah, I think we would all completely agree on that. Well, ESG, environment, sustainability, governance, and diversity have become a focus for leading companies. How do your roles impact on those key focal points? Let me first go to Malin.
Yes, I think it's a very, very good question. And I think that from a general perspective, I see a shift in many, many different industries that the outside world are more and more interested in how you are as a company from a value-based perspective.
Yeah.
What are you doing when it comes to sort of human rights, sustainability, and so forth? And here I think my role has been then to, talking brand communication and marketing specifically, is to try to sort of drive the communication line more towards these topics, to show us this is the Volvo Penta standpoint. And here I think the biggest difference is that you should not really talk too much. You should talk about your direction, but then you need to show, and not really tell the story all the time, but actually show proof points and tell the steps. And for diversity specifically, I think it's very, very important to continue to highlight internally why this is so important and really work with it. Externally, I think diversity, yes, you should say that you believe in diversity, but you need to show.
Yeah.
You need to show that you are a company that believes in this value, because all this value-based for me, and I think for all of us, it doesn't come from someone saying, it comes from someone actually showing that that sort of you have this in you as a company and as a person.
I would say, Malin, that also as a company, you have to be aligned with the values that you have, and also exactly. And you say you have to show. So do you have a good example to show us by giving us one?
I think that actually within diversity, we have a very good example. We have said that we have a target, because I know that for you to not feel as a minority and that you should feel safe, as Tara and Michelle has talked about, it's around 30%. So we have said that we will have 35% female within Volvo Penta. And actually, in our VPEG, like executive team, we are more than that. We are 40%. So I think that's a way of actually being honest to recruiting in not only females, but females with the right competence and skill, of course. But you need to show this.
Yeah, of course. Michelle, the same question for you.
Well, for me, part of the reason, or the most exciting part of my role is to steer the conversation that the industry is having. It's what I took the job for. So for us, what we do is we try to gain awareness to what companies are doing and how companies can inspire others within the industry to move forward within ESG. So for instance, we'll be doing an entire issue devoted to diversity in June. We have, for the past several years, done an issue that's focused on sustainability in July. And we also offer events that bring different leaders together to bring, thought leaders in, and even from outside of the industry, thought leaders on ESG topics. We had the global ambassador for B corporations do a virtual leadership summit in 2020. And B corporations is all about transparency and social responsibility and sustainability in terms of all the stakeholders, whether it's within the company or outside of the company. And Wall Street is really demanding in the US that companies are focused on these topics. So for us, what we're trying to do is bring all of that information and provide tools and leading information to the marine industry so that they can make better choices.
Yeah, exactly. And Tara, what about you? How does your role impact those key points of ESG?
Yeah, so just, I was saying this earlier, I mean, ESG is really the investor sort of interpretation of sustainability, in my mind. There's a lot of overlapping concentric circles in sustainability and responsibility, but sustainability for us at Navico and for a lot of companies is really the ESG agenda, the environmental, social, governance, the non-financial impacts that your company can have. And I think what we're seeing is, first of all, as you both alluded to, the regulatory environment is shifting, both in the EU and in the US. The SEC and the EU are aligning on stricter reporting requirements for publicly traded companies around what do we mean by ESG and what are the indicators that you need to be capturing and then reporting. And so that's driving all kinds of increased focus on these issues, and as you were talking about with Malin, that they can't be stand-aside issues. They actually need to be integrated within your company, and you need to be able to demonstrate that. What Malin absolutely said is right. This is about showing. This is about doing.
Yeah.
And I think one of the tensions we have is, we want to tell these great stories, and there are great stories everywhere. I mean, I'm quite excited at Navico to be a part of the E1, the new electric powerboat racing partnership that's been established. That is a really exciting, innovative step forward. Yeah. But we only get licensed to do that if we're moving on the environmental and social and governance agenda throughout the whole of our business. So making sure the right compliance practices are in place, that we're really, doing and saying the same things. And so that's really important for this industry, is just to have this be integrated throughout everything that we're doing.
Yeah. What has really come to light also in the past days here at Metstrade is that strategic alliances are so important right now to be innovative and to give that flexibility actually that you were talking about before, Malin. But I would also add to that the sustainable relationships. I mean, sustainable relationships are so important in your industry for creating new possibilities and to step into it, hearing what technologies you can find here and there, but also on a personal level to have your sustainable relationships in your team as a workforce and throughout the whole industry. I have a viewer question actually, which might connect nicely to this. What advice would you three give to a young woman entering the marine industry right now? Let me start. You're smiling already there, Tara. Okay, let's go to you first.
I mean, really, it's about finding something that you like and you're good at and doing it really well. I mean, connecting with your passion. It doesn't necessarily, and I think this is something where sometimes young people are really grappling to find, God, I don't know what it is I really truly love. But actually finding something that speaks to you and spending the time to hone the craft and get really good at it. That's one thing. And the other thing I would say is build your network. Across genders, across races, across geographies, your network that you build when you're young will continue to serve you as you get older. So, and again, across generations. So those would be two things I would say.
Yeah, Malin.
Yeah, I do agree with that, but I have another advice as well, which I actually, since I'm being mentor for some people, I say the same thing to all young people and to other people as well. I think you should pick the right manager. I think you should definitely be a bit challenging here and do some research before you say yes to work, because you want someone that supports you. So check, and ask. Do people say, oh, he or she is really, really good, he's got a lot of experience? Ask questions, How did you gain this? Is it, oh, I just have many years of experience, versus, well, I'm so curious, I always want to learn more? That for me are two different perspectives.
Yeah.
And I would also argue, maybe do some research, because I don't know what you say, but I am a bit here. If you don't have any online presence at all from a manager today in 2021, I think I would doubt a bit actually if that is so forward-leaning in the thoughts, because in order to grow and in order to really create a network and dare to do all these challenging things, you need support. And today I think it's important to do what you think is interesting, but also actually have a manager that supports you in that.
Yeah, it's nice what you're saying, Malin, also, because actually to reframe the industry, you also need to reframe yourself and have a good look at yourself to see what you're good at, not only what inspires you, as Tara is saying, but also to really ask yourself the questions, be also critical towards oneself, right? Michelle, what about you?
I agree with what both of the women have said. I would give 3 pieces of advice. First, don't be intimidated. As I've worked with young people coming into the industry, I always told them, especially for women that are selling products, there are going to be a lot more men, but if that one woman walks in your office and she knows her product really, really well and can tell you the features, the benefits, and the whys of why you should have a relationship and do business with her, you're going to stand out over all of those men. So number 1, don't be intimidated. Number 2, find a mentor. Find someone who will really help support you and give you great advice, regardless of gender or age or race, someone that will support you and lead you forward. And the last thing I would say is find community. This year, we, for the first time, did women's events. It was the first female-oriented, large-scale female event, and it came out of small dinners. And I was telling Tara earlier, it grew to be 400 women from 13 countries.
Wow. And
300 plus chat messages in a 90-minute program. And if I look at the groups that were on that call, the largest groups were women in the industry 1 to 5 years and women in the industry 20 plus years. So there was an opportunity for those women to mix and mingle, and that one event has turned into a series, and it's on general topics like negotiating for empowerment. So I would say find community would be the third piece of advice.
Yeah. Thank you so much to all 3 of you, Tara, Malin, and Michelle. Really enjoyed hearing you, and especially all 3 of you opening up so much towards yourself, the way that you have developed yourself and your outlook on the world and the industry. Certainly a big asset for everybody to hear about this. Yeah, so this was the leadership panel, Women in the Industry, Impact and Empowerment. At 4:00 p.m. Dutch time, we are back with the sustainability session, sustainable marine powertrains and alternative fuels. Well, we have had some alternative fuels heard from today in this session. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, ladies, and we'll see you all soon.